Anyone can preach a good sermon, but an effective pastor knows how to implement a sermon. Join us today at the Better Sundays podcast as we talk about the 9 fundamentals of pastoral preaching. Welcome to the Better Sundays podcast, focused, practical, and usable advice for church leaders looking to reach new young families and impact their community. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome back to our number 8 in the series of the 9 fundamentals of pastoral preaching. And this is effective pastoral preaching. As we know, many people can present and stand up in front of a crowd and say a lot of things. But when it comes down to making the sermon last and making it have impact, there needs to be a level of what we call implementation. And this is the hardest of all of the fundamentals that we're dealing with. It takes more forethought and more planning and more teamwork to make this happen than anything else. But effective pastors know that they are not just in the business of transferring information from their head to someone else's head, but they are in the business of life transformation. And the transformation of a life goes way beyond just the sermon or that Sunday morning service that the person happens to be attending. Anyway, good to have you here. If you're not familiar with me, my name is Mike Holmes. I'm the founding pastor here at Sinclair Baptist Church, and we created this ReachKeep.com channel so that we can help pastors be what they need to be, help church leaders kind of really find the nuts and bolts of reaching young families, and that's kind of what we're all about. As we talk about these 9 fundamentals, the goal here is to understand that we're talking about basically your primary Sunday morning type preaching, the one where you're going to have the largest amount of newcomers and evangelistic crowd and reach out to other people. Friends are going to be bringing friends, relatives will be bringing, kinfolk and all that, and you'll have a chance to reach out to new folks. We want to make that the most effective sermon we possibly can have, and one of those ways is to have what we call sermon implementation. So the key word here today is how to take a sermon and really to make it last and put some legs to it. Oftentimes at the end of a message or the end of any kind of speech, there's what's called the call to action. Now, next week, we're going to talk about the call, and the idea of an invitation and how to kind of give some of that. But today we're talking about the action. What are we calling them to do? What are we asking people to do? How are we getting them more involved in actually putting some feet to things? So I wrote down some notes here. We're going to go through a couple different things. This will be a shorter session here, but you can join us and learn more about this. At the end, I'll give you the address where you can sign up and learn more about the preaching and stuff that we have. So let's just jump into some of the things that we have here, these 3 main categories. This first one here is this idea that your sermon would be well synchronized with other things in the church. It's not just a standalone, you preach and the rest of the church does all their other different things, but there are many things. And I wrote down some of these and I want to share them with you. I think your sermon can be well synchronized with the music that's going on in your church, whether it's the regular singing or special music that is going on, you synchronize it with that. And that takes a lot of work to make that happen. Well synchronized with graphics and the promotion stuff. Well synchronized with handouts. An effective sermon is one where you're actually putting something in someone's hand. They're taking it home and they're looking at it. It's a longer lasting type of thing than just a Sunday morning sermon. Well synchronized with follow-up Bible studies. Well synchronized with downloads. And this is a whole new thing in our age now that we can actually direct people towards things that they can download that can be helpful with them in the continuance of their spiritual growth. It needs to be well synchronized with other departments. So like your kids department, your children's department, your nursery, your baby dedication, all the different things that are going on there. A sermon can be well synchronized with the holiday seasons that are there, as well as the seasons of growth in a church, such as like the back to church type season, or in January there's kind of a resolution, kind of a new growth type of thing, and you can synchronize your sermon or sermon series with those things. It can also be synchronized with like your missions programs and any other big days that you might have planned. But it takes a while to make all that happen. But an effective sermon is not just this standalone little thing, but you're really reaching the people and you're shepherding the people through the Word of God, but you're also leading the people into spiritual growth through some of the activities that they can do, volunteer activities and all sorts of things that they can get involved with in the church. So it is going to be well synchronized. The second one is that it is designed for impact. In other words, you are going to be doing something that is, the idea is that this sermon is a life changer. This sermon series is a life changer. And this might be for a sermon or sermon series, and you probably could have similar goals for all of these and kind of break them down into the series here. But there's several things that I came up with this idea. And this is the idea for impact. It's that every sermon should have something for someone to do when it's over. When it's over, there should be something that has been announced at your church, something that has been planned at your church that they can do to follow up with the particular, the application of the message. And again, these are life-transforming, impacting type of sermons that are here. There is a place definitely for teaching, the verse-by-verse expository type things where you're kind of teaching some of the technical aspects of the Word of God, and it's not necessarily designed for application or implementation. But your Sunday morning and some of your bigger series can really be life changers for people. As we say, every Sunday solve a problem. We often teach on this concept that your sermon is what you believe, but your announcements are what you're doing about what you believe. Let me say that again. Your sermon is what you believe, but your announcements are what you're doing about your beliefs that you've just preached on. So you want to have something where people can be involved and something that they can actually kind of get their hands on. Another thing I wrote is something, as I mentioned already, something synchronized, something for their hand, something that will impact them, that they can read, they can fill out, they can hand out to somebody else. Some type of printed or fill-in-the-blank type information works really well for long-lasting impact. And the last one is something that they can share or something that they can actually kind of witness to or talk to somebody about. And this whole idea of impact is something for their feet, something for their hands, and something for their mouth. If you kind of think about it that way, something for their feet, a place to go, a meeting to be at, something to sign up for, to go help and volunteer and do something, to go witnessing or get involved in a Bible study, whatever happens to be, something to where they go. The idea of something for their hands, that you would actually have something that they are handed out at the end of the sermon that is in their hands, or they got it at the beginning, or when they go, they could maybe download it. That would kind of qualify there too. And then something that they can say, something that they can put their mouth into action, they can speak to somebody. And that is just a real simple little formula there, is for this high impact thing. So every sermon, should be well synchronized with the rest of the church activities. And as a pastor, you're responsible for all those things and you make all those things happen, and they should be well designed for impact. The last one here, just hate to say it, but all of this is hard work. And I put team here in parentheses because it really needs to be teamwork, okay? And this is the idea of creating ministry teams that really help you with some of these things and implementing all this stuff. You shouldn't have to print everything. You shouldn't have to do everything. You shouldn't have to organize everything. You should be kind of working on that. Now, I know if you're a smaller church, you've got to do a lot of those things. And we've been a smaller church and kind of went through that stage. But the idea of giving people things to do and working hard and having, good thinking and meeting ahead of time in the week and talking about how you can implement this sermon with some of your staff and your Sunday school. For example, you can have your Sunday school kids maybe come and sing a song that would apply to what you're doing. Well, you're going to have to meet with your Sunday school teachers ahead of time and say, hey, in 3 or 4 weeks, I want to teach this concept. Is there a song that the kids could possibly sing that would sort of emphasize this particular concept I'll be teaching on? That takes some coordination. That takes some hard work, and it is not easy to make all of this stuff happen. But just remember this thing, that a well-preached sermon is also a well-implemented sermon. In other words, it is not just about that 25, 35, 45 minutes of preaching, but it is about those 25, 35, 45 days of life after that, or even years after that. In fact, you are going to preach sermons that are going to change people's lives forever. Okay? When you have an effective sermon and it is well implemented, you will see life change, and it will just keep on going. And it is the most wonderful thing in the world. So if you like this kind of stuff, this whole idea of sermon implementation, I can help you with some of that stuff here at ReachKeep.com. We do a lot of coaching, a lot of training, and you can sign up for the pastor and his preaching and learn more about that. And here is the address. Let's preach better. The address is ReachKeep.com/preaching, and we will be doing some training, some group coaching, and some individual coaching, and help you along in these areas if you need some help. So thanks for being with us here today. If you have not watched the rest of these, go back or click the little box at the bottom here and go back and watch the rest of some of these. We have the 9 fundamentals. We've worked our way all the way through to number 8. We got one more that we're going to be doing, and then we're going to be opening up and doing some training with our pastors in the area and really across the nation. I talk to people really all over the world, I guess, with Zoom. We do coaching, and we want to invite you to be involved with that. If this has been helpful for you, please hit the thumbs up button. Please share this. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you get the rest of these, and hit the little bell so it notifies you when you come. But most of all, make sure that you sign up here at ReachKeep.com/preaching, and we will be here to help you. So thanks for joining us today. This is Mike at the Better Sundays podcast at ReachKeep.com.